एजेंडा हर पॉलिटिकल पार्टी का कॉमन है. Every political party, I believe, believes in these fundamental rights. लेकिन होता ये है कि you become in power, and once you come in power, you forget about the fundamental rights of others. And therefore, the cycle is repeated, and it keeps getting repeated. So my answer to your question that you asked is yes. Let us first look at the fundamentals. Let us first agree that civil liberties, human rights, political rights, social rights, cultural rights, all these rights are equal for everyone. Let us get the soul of these rights in our hearts, and then we will talk. Then why should we not talk? But let us first get the premise straight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Senator Ali Zafar Saab. And I've just received a request that there will be before we bring in our chief guest, just a very, very brief comment from the former member of the European Parliament who has travelled all the way from Ireland. If agar aap ijazat dein, so a very, very brief comment that he wants to just say something. John Cushnan. I think there was a mic that was to be arranged.
Hello.
All right. Hurry up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. As the former leader of 5 European election observation missions in South Asia, the 2002 one here and 4 in Sri Lanka, I would like to personally thank you for the invitation to share my experiences with you. Secondly, I want to pay tribute to the organization of this conference and offer my congratulations to what has been, in my experience, one of the most impressive conferences I've ever been at in defending human rights. I believe it is a great act of solidarity with all those that defend human rights throughout South Asia. I also think it will bring great comfort to them. It's not only important to the people of Pakistan, it's important for all of those throughout South Asia to give them the resolve to continue to defend those human rights. I hope it also will give inspiration to the newly elected government in Pakistan, who will work in cooperation with all democratic forces to take back absolute power to those who are democratically elected to discharge it, and end the interference of those who undermine democracy and human rights. It's up to democratically elected people to do that, and I wish you well in any attempt you make to achieve it.
Well, thank you very much. And I would like to take that opportunity, क्योंकि आप एक दफ़ा हमारे चीफ गेस्ट बोल लेंगे तो फिर हमारी बात कहाँ सुनेंगे, तो I would just like to thank the organizers of the conference, the AGHS Legal Aid Cell led by Nida Ali and also by Alia Malik, and we must note Rubina Shaheen, the Pakistan Bar Council, the Supreme Court Bar Association of Pakistan, Saroop Ijaz from the Asma Jahangir Foundation, and our partners, our supporters, the European Union, the Kingdom of Netherlands, German Embassy, the Norwegian Embassy, the British High Commission, and the Embassy of Spain. We would like to also thank our speakers who came from Palestine, the United Kingdom, Spain, EU, and other countries, our moderators especially, who put in a lot of hard work before the conference actually begins. And I'd also like to emphasize that every year we want to have new speakers. I know some of you were upset that you were not called, but it's only because we want to keep things evolving, and you will again be called next year. But there must be new speakers also at every conference. I would also like to thank the Philetes Hotel Generation, who provided all the bags that you have, and of course Samina Ahmed sitting right before us, Afra Saab Khatak, who helped us formulate this conference. I would like to thank the Law Minister, Azam Nazir Tarar, not for being sacked for the first time, but basically for supporting us throughout this cause. I would like to thank हमारे कैमरामैन, हमारी मीडिया जो कई दिनों से यहाँ पे खड़े हुए हैं, आपका बहुत शुक्रिया। आपने हमारे साथ बहुत कोऑपरेट किया है और हमारे वॉलंटियर्स जो आए, आपका बहुत शुक्रिया। यंग विमेन who really helped us, and the 140 female lawyers that came from across Pakistan. I salute your courage, and I hope that we will see you all again. And last but not least, I must thank On Kazmi, who has really put this conference together with a lot of effort. And I would now like to call upon the Chairman Senate of Pakistan, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Yousaf Raza Gillani, and I like to introduce you to him because when he became Prime Minister, he freed political prisoners, he lifted the ban on student unions, he spoke of free speech, he allowed the media to report independently without fear or favor, and he announced the Aghaze-Haquq-e Balochistan package. His democratic credentials are very sound. I now give the floor to Chairman Senate Yousaf Raza Gillani. Thank you, sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable speakers, foreign dignitaries, members of legal fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. It is a privilege to be here again in remembrance of late Asma Jahangir and deliver the closing address of this conference. She was a friend and an inspiration for all democratic people of Pakistan. Asma Jahangir was a warrior for a democratic, progressive, inclusive, modern, and pluralistic Pakistan. This conference in her memory has become a vital forum for having important and sometimes uncomfortable conversations on fundamental rights, democracy, rule of law, and constitutionalism. These conversations of the rule of law, freedom of expression, women's rights are absolutely essential for us to have if we intend to be flourishing democratic state which will become inshallah. I have great admiration and respect for Asma Jahangir and her courage to speak truth to power. She was elected as the first woman president of Supreme Court Bar Association at a time when I was Prime Minister of Pakistan. I fondly recall my engagement with her in that role. एक वाकया मैं सुनाना चाहता हूँ जो सारा क्रक्स होगा जो आपकी गुफ्तगू हुई है। मैंने जो मोहतरमा बेनज़ीर भुट्टो शहीद और मियां मोहम्मद नवाज शरीफ साहब के माबैन चार्टर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी पर जब साइन हुआ तो ये जिम्मेवारी मेरे ऊपर थी टू इम्प्लीमेंट इट और मैंने उस चार्टर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी पे काम किया। 85% उस पर अमल दरामद किया और कुछ नकात रह गए जो ऑपोजिशन की नॉन कोऑपरेशन की वजह से ना हो सके, मगर उस पे एक जो सबसे बड़ा काम था, अब यहाँ लीगल फ्रेटर्निटी भी है, जुडिशरी के लोग भी हैं, स्टूडेंट्स भी हैं और लीडर्स भी हैं। मुझे आसमा जहांगीर ने आई मेरे पास तो मुझे बहुत कहने लगे कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब आज आप बहुत खुश लग रहे हैं। कि आप 58(2)B का खात्मा किया। 58(2)B कि जब से पाकिस्तान बना आपने देखा कि डिक्टेटर्स 58(2)B के तहत गवर्नमेंट को रुखसत करते थे, तो आज आपने इसको ख़त्म कर दिया। आप बहुत खुश हैं। Unanimously elected Prime Minister of Pakistan when the country was beginning to transition to democracy. It was time of great fear and apprehension with the systematic dismantling of democratic institutions by the previous regime, a global economic recession and a divided country. By the grace of Allah, the leadership of my party and the strength of my convictions, we steadied the ship. I've been asked to speak on the role of political leaders in safeguarding civil rights. In recent years, there have been acute challenges to constitutionalism and rule of law in Pakistan and in the region, a subject discussed at length at this conference. Rule of law, democratic principles, and respect for fundamental rights have been under relentless assault in many countries in South Asia. These have been deliberate attempts by dangerous populists to sow a discord, to cause conflict, to polarize society and institutions through politics of hate and violence. The only solution to a constitutional crisis is constitutional supremacy. The only solution to the crisis of holding fundamental rights is democracy. Political parties are the engine of train of democracy. Throughout our history, dictatorships have been afraid of political leaders, political parties, and the power of political parties and leaders to organize people, to give them a voice, to give them a direction, and have attempted to clamp down on them. The dictatorships of the past damaged our political culture and democracy and created a new class of non-ideological and opportunistic politicians who were not bound by party manifestos, disciplines, and ethos. Political parties provide a people an opportunity to hold politicians accountable both at the individual level by the constituency and at the collective level by the party. Shaheed Zulfikar Ali Bhutto created a party based on the values of democracy, equality, freedom of human rights. Shaheed Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto created a cadre of political workers who were trained in democratic politics and how to understand the rights and responsibilities of upholding the fundamental rights, particularly as the party was a party that gave the Constitution of 1973. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto, President Zardari, and myself and thousands of PPP workers paid a heavy price for this commitment to the people, to democracy and fundamental rights. They were executed assassinated, flogged, and imprisoned. This journey of sacrifice and examples of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, yes please, and Shaheed Mohtamma Benazir Bhutto has made the PPP worker what is it today. Courageous, critical, thinker, and fearlessly loyal. I wear it as a badge of honor, and that during my term as the longest serving Prime Minister of Pakistan, there were no political prisoners and no persecution of political opponents. I was the first Prime Minister to create a human rights ministry and provided with all the support necessary. I was also the first Prime Minister to create a Ministry of Interfaith Harmony and to recognize the historic speech of Quaid-e-Azam on August 11 that gave the vision of tolerant and egalitarian Pakistan. I declared August 11 as a minority day to remind ourselves the promise made by Quaid. This manifesto, the ideology and training is what distinguishes a political party working towards upholding democratic rights from the mob. One of the most serious challenges to democracy around the world at the moment is authoritarian populism. Leaders who lie to people, who incite violence, who seek to create division and polarization, who have no ideology and no agenda beyond that of self-interest for themselves or for the destruction of everyone else. From Modi in India to far-right parties in Europe to Pakistan, there is a relentless assault on the principles of constitutional supremacy, democratic accountability, and of tolerance, threatening to besiege and attack capitals, whether it is in Islamabad or Washington, D.C., by inciting violence and hatred is not the work of political leader or a party. It is bullying and not politics. They want the civility and democratic norms in politics to be replaced by hysteria and abuse. The despots wreaks havoc and not only our politics and our society, but also on our institutions, our economy, and our foreign policy. The lack of coherent foreign policy by the previous regime was driving us towards international isolation and extraordinary sacrifice in the war against violent extremism were going unacknowledged. Political parties provide nurseries and training for government. Those who seek to build cults instead of democratic political parties, once propelled and selected into power, only prove destructive. The people of Pakistan, through their experience of history, recognize demagogues and those who seek to impose fascism upon us. We were not granted democracy and freedom on a platter. We attained it with our blood, the blood of political leaders and thousands of committed political workers. I spent years in prisons for committing no crime other than standing by my principles of my party. Today, the Democrats have responsibility to protect our Constitution, our democracy against a torrent of abuse and falsehood. Democratic political parties need to be at the forefront of this. Political leaders and political parties are the glue that binds the political aspirations of the people from small villages to power corridors of Islamabad. And I think the link between government, parliament and workers, farmers, students, trade unions, lawyers and civil society. Our judiciary today also has a responsibility. The rule of law is soul of democratic system. The judiciary has the responsibility to inspire confidence that justice will be done, that everyone will be treated fairly and fundamental rights will be upheld. Sadly, in the past, our judiciary has failed to inspire this confidence. However, we have a great hope that judiciary is now looking inwards to reform and start the journey towards equitable, constitutional and justice system where the courts decide based on the law. The challenges that we face are enormous. However, we'll live to overcome them in even greater. The answer has always lied in more democracy, more political participation, more ideological commitment. We have prevailed in the past and inshallah we will prevail again. The best tribute to Asma Jahangir is to follow in her footsteps and fight for the constitutional supremacy, equality and democracy. This is a debt that we owe to Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto and Asma and other democratic political leaders who spent their lives in this fight. Inshallah, we will succeed. Thank you very much. Pakistan Zindabad.